Jazmyne Sturgeon.
And I'm Perkins.
And today we are discussing R-74 and same-sex marriage. So in front of me I have the actual referendum. R-74 is talking mostly about redefining marriage and, or editing marriage, if you will, giving a little different look on it. As the bill stands right now, marriage is still a contract between a male and a female. And what R-74 is proposing to do is strike that out and change that to simply two persons.
So it's gender neutral and it's not imposing upon one group.
And anything that says husband and wife is changed to person or persons. And exactly as Scott said, keeping it gender neutral and keeping it very, very politically correct. PC.
And it also is not trying to impose upon religion in general. They're trying to include it so that no religious organization is required to provide accommodations, facilities, advantages, privileges, services, or goods related to the solemnization or celebration of a marriage. So they're not trying to force a church to say, oh, you have to marry this man and this man, or you have to marry this woman and this woman. It's completely up to the church, to the person in general. They do not have to worry about it.
Absolutely.
And we're back.
So we've sent our best two reporters out into the field to talk to two groups about R-74 and what it means to them. On one hand, we have the religious organizations who, as a whole, are quite opposed to the referendum and saying that marriage should remain between a man and a woman. On the other hand, we have the political side of it that says equal rights, and that the Constitution does absolutely guarantee equal rights to everyone. So why should marriage be an exception? So we've taken a look at those two groups, and we're going to go to the field now. I'm here with Melissa Wynn. She's a pastor at Chi Alpha Christian Ministries here at the campus at Central Washington University. Melissa, today we're talking about same-sex marriage, and we're dealing with issues in science and with religion. As a pastor at Central, we thought you could help us out with that. First, we wanted to know your opinion on same-sex marriage as a Christian woman and as a member of the Christian faith.
That people who choose to enter into same-sex relationships should be allowed to get married.
And that does go against popular belief about the Christian faith. Would say in the Bible it says, it's against same-sex marriage and same-sex interaction. So why is your opinion different than maybe a mainstream Christian view might be?
Well, so I don't believe that relationships are meant to be same-sex together. I was a health major, and we studied just how a lot of diseases and infections tend to reside in those populations, and so just from my health background, I know some aspects of why it often presents as less healthy. But as a believer, I know that God's heart is that He designs man and women to be heterosexual in their relationships, and He does express that homosexuality is not His design for humans.
Well, this is just one voice in the entire discussion about same-sex marriage. She only has one side of the argument. There are multiple sides, but there are generally two sides. There are the side that supports LGBT, and there's the side that supports religion. Now, it is important to keep in mind that these two sides are somewhat opposing, and that they might have different viewpoints. So let's switch to our second best reporter in the field with Jesse.
Do you think it's necessary? Do you think that this is something that should have happened a while ago? Just talk.
I certainly think it's necessary. For one thing, we currently have what is nicknamed the Everything But Marriage Act in effect, which is basically a civil union or a domestic partnership with all of the same statewide benefits, for the most part, as marriage, except for the name itself. But there are a few things before we even get to the topic of why do we want to call it marriage. There are a few things first. One is, if you have a domestic partnership or a civil union here in Washington State, you have to carry around a card with you that says that you're in such a union. It's almost like carrying around.
Yes, it's very important, because it is the year 2012, and by now we should just be able to realize, marriage equality. It's the United States of America. It is a secular country. It is, this is a thing that we have for everyone. It is for the people, for everyone. So, is it necessary? Yeah.
Do you believe it's a religious term, or do you believe it's for everyone?
I think it might have been religious, but it's certainly not a concept original to religion. Religious people did not invent it, certainly not Christianity. It was in the Greek system, it was in the Persian system, it was going off in China where people could actually read and write contracts. And this was going on long before Christianity even started. But also, if we're going to talk along Christian lines, which in this nation is of course the dominant religion, most of us understand that there is some quite possibly legitimate concern that could come from that area. Particularly when it comes to, look, our book defines marriage. Well, yeah, it certainly does. If you want to look at the Bible for definitions of marriage, go to Deuteronomy. There are quite a few interesting definitions there. It basically says that if a soldier invades a country, when he rapes a woman, she has to marry him. She has to marry him if he rapes her. Also in the Bible it says that if a woman's husband dies, she has to marry his brother if he has a brother. Also, there are verses in there that when a man marries a woman and finds out she's not a virgin, and if she was understood to be a virgin, he has the right to stone her to death. There are tons of interesting things in the Bible that define marriage.
But when we're talking about religion, when we're talking about the good book, when we want to say, this is the good book, and we want to use it as this universal yardstick to measure morality, whose good book are we going to use? Are we going to use the Quran, or the Torah, or the Bible? Are we going to use the Book of Mormon? Are we going to use the Old Testament, the New Testament? Are we going to use a particular translation?
That was a great interview with Jesse and Matt, both poli-sci majors here at Central Washington University, and both bringing up great points in the big debate, the big picture of it all. And as everyone knows, Election Day is November 6th, and we should have a better view of what this bill is going to look like and what the country's stance on the bill is, or what the state stance. Similar bills are being put out throughout the country. I think what it's really going to come down to is, the separation of church and state and what that really looks like in the United States. What kind of country are we? Do science and religion conflict with each other here? Is there some sort of independence between the two? Do they integrate together, or is there just a little bit of dialogue? What kind of country do we really want? We have the separation of church and state.
It's true, so it's more independent in that way.
Absolutely.
But I think that a lot of religions, that it conflicts with the way that people might think today. And that old thinking might cause some...
We also have people who are in positions of political power who are religious people, so that may also suggest integration. Do we allow religious people into positions of political power? It could be anyone, and it's we're really about to find out what Washington State and what the country looks like.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching our show. I hope you have a great weekend.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.